Y'all ever heard of Brutal Orchestra? I don't know how many people bought this thing, but there's not a ton of discussion about it online, so that's where I'm stepping in. Anyways, it's this little indie roguelike masterpiece where you journey through purgatory, punch a few guys, discover the meaning of life. It doesn't have a lot of dialogue, and yet its message feels very profound. Sentimentally, it sticks with me. It's a beautiful game, and I recommend you check it out if you've no idea what it is. Brutal Orchestra pretty quickly became one of my, most favoriteest games. Oh, I love it to death. But it does have a couple major flaws. It don't really last too long. Now, of course, I will take, quality over quantity. As any sex haver will tell you, it's possible to have a good time even if you don't last that long. So here's the kicker with roguelikes. Yeah, you're kind of taking a big risk here. I mean, not in like the marketing or financial sense. Everyone freaking loves roguelikes. That's definitely gonna boost your marketing. But I'm talking, you kind of risk longevity, right? Because, if you want to get technical, it only takes like 20 minutes to beat Spelunky, but you probably don't beat Spelunky in a few minutes because it's really freaking hard, so you gotta play it over and over and over again. That is usually what gives them a lot of playtime. Brutal Orchestra does not have this luxury because it is a very easy game. It is a roguelike, probably the only roguelike that I beat on my first try. If you want to get technical, you have to do 2 runs to beat the game. Your progress stops for story reasons, but guess what? I first tried both of them, so. And that leaves kind of a problem, because I love this game. There's so much to it. It's I love it, but there's no more juice left to squeeze. And feeling so confident, having, first tried a roguelike, I was like, okay. Could I beat it without taking any damage, right? There's so many items to unlock, so many characters to unlock. There are quest lines that, don't give you any rewards, but there's no reason to do any of it because I beat the game already. There's no mountains left to climb. So I had to make up my own mountains. Can you beat Brutal Orchestra without taking any damage? Before we begin my very first totally original gaming challenge run video, we have to establish what the fuck is a Brutal Orchestra. So combat works a little bit like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic the Gathering. I actually don't play either of those games, so that's a totally inaccurate comparison. The point is there's lanes. There's 5 lanes. Each of your party members fills a lane. Unlike those 2 games that I don't play that I mentioned that are totally irrelevant, this game doesn't have cards either. This is not a deck builder. At the start of combat, right, your guys are in lanes. There are enemies in lanes. You know what the enemies are gonna do because of this little bar thingamajig that's gonna forecast their moves. And at the end of the turn, if one of your guys is in a lane that an enemy is attacking, they take damage. Damage reduced health. Health equals 0, you die. I probably didn't need to explain that part because you're probably enough of a gamer to know what a hit point is. Hypothetically, if we just never put a party member in a lane that's gonna take damage, we can just not take any damage. That's looking pretty good for us. We could just, move the fuck out of the way. It's pretty easy. Oh, but wait a minute. We actually have to explain how the game mechanics work. They have a selection of abilities that you can pick from. They get to use 1 per turn. They also get to move around the board 1 time per turn. And all abilities cost bodily fluids. Piss, blood, tears, and... okay, these are actually called pigments. Pigments basically fuel your attacks. Okay, so now that we know the rules of the run, let's pick our party members. First is Noak. Most fights will start with the main character, Noak, who you have to bring to every fight, who you really want to bring to every fight because he uses yellow pigments to attack, and you generate yellows every turn. Usually, you get obtain pigments by attacking enemies and making them bleed. They will bleed the color of their health bar into your pigment zone, which you can then use to fuel further attacks. So typically, your fight's flowchart is gonna look something like Noak attacks a guy, generates some red pigment, someone else uses red pigment to attack another guy, that generates you some more red pigment to let another guy attack. Are you seeing the flow here? You can also get pigment by taking damage because your party members also bleed. Of course, we can't do this because we are not taking damage. The next great party member on our list is Boyle. Boyle is a great all-around attacker, and he has some key abilities that are all extremely useful in the context of a no-damage run. First, he has Trench. And Trench is an attack that also puts up a shield. Sometimes we're not going to be able to avoid damage. Sometimes, we're going to have to sit our ass in a lane that is getting attacked. But if we do that, then we'll take damage and then we'll lose the run. But if Boyle puts up a shield, we can block the damage. This gives us a second way of negating damage other than dodging. We can dodge and then we can block. The downside with Entrenched is, first of all, the damage numbers in the game are fucking random. You may see in the enemy forecast, instead of providing specific numbers, you get vague descriptions of how much damage is going to be dealt. How much damage is a painful amount of damage as compared to a modest amount of damage. Fun fact, a lethal amount of damage and a mortal amount of damage are two different numbers. One of them is guaranteed to instant kill you, the other is just a really big number that is technically possible to survive. Which one is which? Fuck you, bozo, the game doesn't tell you. But luckily, there is a wiki that we can consult to know how much damage each attack does. So looking at this chart, a painful amount of damage is 4 to 5 or 4 to 6. I'm recording this, before consulting the chart, but whatever. The point is, Boyle will be able to block any attacks with a maximum damage lower than the number listed on the chart for the adjective. It's stupid. The point is he can block damage, okay? It's not that fucking complicated. We didn't need to go on like a 2-minute rant, but whatever, we're done now. The other party member we're taking with us is Burnout. Another very unique thing about Brutal Orchestra is that more party members isn't necessarily better, right? As we've established, the way you dodge attacks is by going in a lane that isn't being attacked. But if all 5 lanes are occupied by party members, that means every time an enemy attacks, someone is guaranteed to take the hit. So on one hand, you want more party members to be able to do more damage faster, get the fight over with quicker, but on the other hand, the more people you have, the harder it is to avoid an attack. And for a run where we, can't take any damage, we generally want to keep our number of party members pretty low. Burnout is very unique because he gives us the benefits of an extra party member without the downside of having an extra occupied lane. Because Burnout is literally meat. He's great at starting projects and fucking, goes full force and then crashes into a wall and experiences, get this, burnout. His attacks get weaker and weaker with each attack. Now that sounds pretty bad because after a few turns, you're gonna have this freaking piece of dead weight who barely does any damage and he's occupying an extra space on the field. But that's where Burnout's second ability comes in, Run the Fuck Away. Run the Fuck Away works exactly like it sounds. Burnout turns around and takes a mental health day. He leaves the battle. So this is great because at the start of battle, Burnout can do his little attacks and we can keep him there for as long as is convenient. Once we find ourselves in a situation where there aren't enough empty lanes, we can just have Burnout split. So like I said, the benefits of an extra party members without the drawbacks of taking up an extra slot. Now, if there are any Brutal Orchestra pros out there, you might be asking, why didn't you bring Pearl or Beamy or Big Chungus or Mansa Musa and the answer is that I don't have all the fucking characters unlocked. As we've established, I want to get more juice and more squeeze out of this game, but I beat it like fucking immediately, which means I barely have any of the shit unlocked. So if there's some really great character or really great item that would totally suit this run, guess what? I don't know about it and I don't have it. Why? Because I've only played the game like once. I beat it on my first try. I didn't go for all the Chivos. Anyways, I started off the bat by getting this really good item. It's called the Firstborn, which if you ask me, it doesn't look very born to me. This item is really good, for our run specifically. Whoever holds this deals double damage, but gets their bones broken every turn. Now luckily, having your bones broken doesn't actually hurt you. It just makes incoming hurt twice as hurty. Considering the fact that we can't even take damage in the first place, this item has no downsides, because it doubles incoming damage, but doubles outgoing damage. So really good pickup. Now, for the most part, these shore runs are super easy. You can see them on the screen here. I will, however, take some time to go over some enemies that represent the biggest challenges we'll face in this run. First is Flamingoa. So Flamingoa obfuscates the timeline. We cannot see what the fuck the enemies are gonna do. This is incredibly scary because, like, how do we know if we're gonna take damage or not if we can't see what's gonna happen? The other big threat to our run is represented by this bone worms kind of guy, which is enemies that attack lots of lanes, right? Our main method of not taking damage is to move someone into a lane that is unoccupied. I played really stupid in the first area and get into a fight with 2 of these motherfuckers, which means there's only 1 lane that's not threatened. And I'm like, fuck, what am I gonna do? I can't avoid the damage. I checkmated myself in this god run where we get the amazing item. What do I do? The answer is cheating.
Let's leave!
And load up the game once again. If you quit mid-fight, you reset the fight back to 0. You go to the start, right? You can just save scum in this game. Now, the devs actually thought of this, and if you take damage in a fight and then save scum, the damage you take is saved. And if you can't beat a fight with a bunch of guys at full health, then you're probably not gonna be able to beat the same fight with all your guys at 1 health. However, we're not here to take any damage in the first place, which means there's no downsides to save scumming. Oh, this is gonna be the savior of our run, the ability to just retry fights whenever I want, right? Of course, if we take damage and then save scum, the damage is gonna save, so to err on the safe side, we should save scum if we are in any scenario where damage is possible.
Hey, what up? It's live sports commentator Nerd Peel. I'm just kidding, we're not actually live in any capacity, but I thought it'd be good to showcase some actual fights in the run, considering this is, a challenge run, which is a video about showcasing playing a game, so should probably include some actual gameplay. As you can see, these 2 guys really do cover lots of lanes, but boom, look at that. Boyle shield blocking the damage live in real time. You will notice there's quite a lot of cutting, and that's because I take really long to make decisions. I hit record, I played the game, but I played the game normally. And there's just a lot of dead air of me just sitting there, not doing anything, just looking at the screen and contemplating, which is strange because this game's easy and doesn't require that much contemplation at all. As you can see with this fight, I do end up lucking out. You may notice that the 2 different enemies on screen tend to alternate between attacking and doing a thing that isn't attacking, which gives me lots of breathing room to alternate spots on the board. This is just due to, sheer luck. And thankfully, by the time we do see a simultaneous attack with both of these guys, they're both low enough HP to where I can finish one of them off. And so thus we still have enough space on the board to survive unscathed. By the skin of our teeth. Ooh.
The other thing, of note that happens in Area 1 is that we visit a shop and we get a few run-saving items. So remember how I hyped up Burnout earlier and talked about how his runaway ability was really, really great? Well, we can't actually fucking use it. This is because it takes purple pigment, and at present, the only way to get purple pigment is for one of our party members to take damage. Noak has purple health, so if he takes damage, we get purple pigment. However, I buy an item that fixes this. The purple pills, which gives us a few purple pigment at the start of combat. So, if Burnout is holding these, we can actually use his ability now. Yay! The other item we get is the magical bucket. What does the magical bucket do? It's a surprise tool that'll help us later. So, with our squad fully formed, with our items pimped out, our characters upgraded, because I forgot to mention that you can use coins to upgrade your guys in this game. While we're in the first area, we also pick up Hans. Oh, thank you, Lord, for answering my prayers. Meet Hans. Hans is this game's healer. Now, you're probably thinking, Mr. Nerdpeel, why the fuck would you need a healer in a run where you can't take any damage. Because the only way for Hans to be useful is to have an injured party member who needs healing. But if your party member got injured, you lose the fucking challenge, you dumbass. Why do you want a healer? The answer is simple. We don't need Hans for healing. We need her for blue pigment consumption. So as I've said before, all attacks in this game are fueled by pigment. And whenever you attack an enemy, right, they bleed pigment into your pigment bar. Sometimes enemies will have a blue health. Sometimes enemies will cry at you and put blue pigment into your bar. The problem, if you have more pigment than there are slots to store them, you take overflow damage. This is a form of damage, and it will end our run if it happens. You know, as you get further into the game, there are more complex enemies, there are more health types, there are more colors you have to deal with, so being able to get rid of blue would be nice, because if we can't get rid of it, we're gonna take damage and lose. And trust me, later this is gonna be really important. So, with our squad fully formed, with our items pimped out, our characters upgraded, because I forgot to mention that you can use coins to upgrade your guys in this game, we head off to the first boss encounter of the run. Morbius. Whatever, buddy, let's just throw hands. Morbius is the biggest challenge we faced thus far. He has everything that we hate about this run, everything that's designed to kill us, all packed into one. First, he has blue health. This is really bad for us, because most of our attackers use red pigment. Luckily, he does spawn a few underlings, these mudlungs, who we can beat the crap out of to get some red pigment. However, the blue pigment we get from attacking him is gonna overflow our bar. Finally, hands, go, fulfill your role, do your purpose. It's always what you were meant to do. Look at him slurp up that blue pigment. Oh, you're such a good girl, Hans. Everyone give it up for Hans, saving the run. So Hans sits there, does nothing, and slurps up all the water. Amazing. Here are the other things that Morbius does, right? He can have the mudlungs attack, plus he can threaten the 3 lanes that he's standing on for a board-wide attack, right? Luckily, we can kill the mudlungs in 1 turn by negating their attacks, and for our party member in the middle area of the map, Boyle can set up a shield and block the triple lane threat that Mobius is throwing down. Morbius, sorry. So, that's how we get his first set of attacks. However, Morbius has another trick up his sleeve. I've been ruptured. What does Rupture do? Rupture is a status effect that makes your units take damage whenever they move. This is really bad for us. It's so bad. The whole point of the whole reason this run is possible is we can move our party members into lanes that are unthreatened. But if they take damage from moving, there's nothing we can do. We're cooked, chat. We're fucked up Schitt's Creek. We're fighting the devil without a crucifix. Oh, if only there was a hero who could save me from this horrible status effect. Of course, the bucket. The bucket gives whoever holds it immunity to rupture. So here's what we do. 2 of our party members sit on the edges. Now, if one of those edges has an attacking mudlung on it, one of our party members can kill it. Hans is not capable of dealing 6 damage in 1 turn, meaning only one of the mudlungs can be dead in a turn. Dealio. Noak can negate damage by attacking the mudlung in one of the opposing areas. Boyle takes the rupture, however, we can keep him still. He stands in the same lane the whole fight and doesn't die thanks to his shield. With the blue pigment conquered by Hans, with the rupture countered with the magic bucket, and his inevitable 3-lane attack countered with Boyle's shield, we finally managed to take down Morbius. I don't know if you noticed, but I physically aged
in between takes. I started this video, I dropped it for like, I want to say at least a year. Anyways, I don't know, I'm very flip-floppy about my projects and what I do. Anyways, so with the fish guy defeated, we move on to the second area, the far shore, the beach. I think the first area is called the far shore, which is ironic because if any area is a beach, it's gonna be the second one because there's actual water here. And anyways, this area, it's a bit of a breeze, man, with a few notable exceptions. So first, we get some pretty lucky items. We get the box of medals. Box of medals puts 3 scars on all characters. Scars increase the amount of damage you take when they're on enemies. This is great. The fact that they're on our party members means nothing, because again, we're not gonna take damage in the first place. So, okay, but like what are the fights in this area like? For instance, there are these instrument guys, the music men. Their gimmick is that after a turn or so, I don't know, whenever they feel like it, they're gonna transform, and when they transform, they can be pretty deadly. However, it's nothing we can't handle, and our damage at this point is just so through the roof that we can usually just kill them before they transform. Speaking of transforming enemies in this area, we gotta be careful of the wriggling sacrifice. The wriggling sacrifice evolves into the ungod, which has a unavoidable board-wide attack that actually lowers your max HP, so you can't even avoid it with shield. So we gotta make sure to avoid this fight at all costs. And you know what? Spoiler alert, we do. It's very simple. Just if you see this little guy, don't click that fight in the routing. Easy peasy. There's another enemy you're not supposed to click in the routing, and that's, boom, this guy. He looks like Nose Pass, but I'm gonna call him Big Bird. And the reason I'm calling him Big Bird is because his gimmick is that he stands up. And when he stands up, he's got some bird legs. Henceforth, Big Bird. The part that matters is that he does a little trolling. You know, he's kind of like the music man in the fact that, you know, he starts the fight by kind of doing nothing. Now, the problem is a part of his dinking around before he decides to stand up includes this one potential move where he decides to deal 1 damage to the entire board. Now, in a regular playthrough, you're probably supposed to see this and be like, whew, okay, I got a little bit more time to handle this guy before he stands up. In our playthrough, this is horrible. That's checkmate turn 1. It's really bad. All spaces, no safe place. So far, the best counter strategy to enemies that we can't dodge is to simply kill them. The best defense really is a good offense, and target prioritization has been probably our #1 skill that I've honed the most in this run. Target prioritization, knowing who you can get away with letting live and who you gotta end now. Now, the problem is, I'm so tall I gotta squat down if I wanna get closer and not get cropped out of the frame. The problem is that you can't really prioritize targets when all of your enemies are Big Bird, because they can just both do the fucking thing that kills you. During my routing, I make the very dumb mistake of clicking a fight with these guys, and I didn't need to. This was avoidable. I could have just went straight to the boss, but I was like, no, gotta get those extra coins. I'll need them for later to power up my party. Long story short, I do a lot of save scumming. I'm gonna be real with the skill is not what wins the day against these guys. But ultimately, I succeeded by simply replaying it until I got a lucky enough combination of moves.
Anyways, we're back in live fight mode, and although I wasn't very eloquently spoken during the explanation of these 2 Big Bird guys, they do in fact hit both lanes, and this is the winning attempt against them. And what you'll notice is that I just get really lucky. They both decide to not attack on turn 1. Great for me. So we just aggressively pile on the damage. I also forgot to mention that Burnout can also attack multiple times, but, well, you have to get lucky for that to happen. Every time he attacks, he has a chance to refresh your action. Honestly, I'm contemplating my decision to showcase this fight because really nothing interesting happened. really just punch two wild animals to death, and there's not a lot to it than that, but trust me, it took a lot of rerolls to get here.
That is the only thing worthy of note that happens before the boss in Act 2. Actually, there's one more. We pick up this guy, Clive. I've talked a pretty big game about every other party member. They've gotten their own freaking section, but Clive's just kind of here. He's just chilling. Hey, Clive, you wanna? I got like a thing going. You wanna join? Really? Okay. So what does Clive do for us? He's a fifth body to throw at the enemy. That's it? Yeah. He can attack. Not a lot of damage. Now, despite not talking a big game about Clive, he actually did come in clutch during our Big Bird fight. Sometimes, when damage is just inevitable, there's no safe spaces on the board, you might as well bring 5 party members because there's nowhere to dodge, and each party member is a little extra damage. So we bring Clive whenever we need that small teensy-tiny amount of damage. There are 2 different bosses that can show up in Area 2. The first is Ouroboros, the great sea monster. The other potential Area 2 boss is a literal baby that kills itself. Needless to say, one of these 2 fights is a lot easier than the other. Guess which one we get? We enter the boss, and it's looking pretty grim. First of all, the enemy has just blue health and loads of it, meaning we also have to deal with a lack of red pigment, which, like, most of the party deals damage with red pigment. And on top of that, the enemy's actions are unknown. We can't know if we're checkmated if not even the enemy knows what it's gonna do. Here's how the Ouroboros works. First of all, there are these tail things. We can just ignore them. We're gonna take a look at the head right now. The head is what we have to kill. Now, in order to kill the head, we have to stand next to it, or at the very least, 1 tile to the left of it using a diagonal attack. Is that Ouroboros has 3 different attacks. The first of which instantly kills whoever's in front of it. Not great. The other deals damage to the 2 lanes in front of it. So even if we're using a diagonal attack, if there's a 1 in 3 chance that even that is too dangerous. Third move is he heals whenever's in front of him. This may sound impossible. It sounds like we have to just put someone in front of them, make an attack, pow pow, and just kind of hope that whatever this question mark is happens to be the healing one. Man, I don't know how to do these bait and switch moments, man. The truth is, it is unover. It is not over as it could possibly. It is started. See, that's because, take a look at this. Boom, look at this little icon. Forgetful. The boss cannot repeat actions until it has done every other action in its arsenal. What this means is we can 100%, no way, no how guarantee never take damage. Here's how. If Ouroboros has performed its insta-kill attack and its double lane attack, I don't remember what they're called, but if it's performed those back to back, then we know that its next attack is going to be the healing kissy kiss. And then once that happens, we put Noak into range. And for this fight, we're only taking Noak in hands. Hands, once again, she's there to take a drink and nothing else. And then Noak, because he attacks with yellow pigment, vessel, and we get yellow pigment every single turn. Look, there's simply no red pigment to go around during this fight, none at all. So all of our red pigment users are useless anyway. We do bring Burnout though, because he can throw out an attack and retreat turn 1 for some free damage. Thanks, Burnout. So yeah, gosh golly, that was actually really simple. Anyways, moving on to Area 3.
Oh, but before we go, we've got to showcase the Area 2 boss battle. Yeah, once you figure out the matrix of the fight, it's really easy. It's just a plain old cycle of wait till he does his 2 attacks, and then when he's guaranteed to do the kiss, you roll in, hit him with a single punch. It's very slow, but if you know what you're doing, it's a guaranteed win. Honestly, the fight gets harder if you bring more party members, because with just Hans and Noak, we can very reliably avoid anything the 2 tentacles in the middle could throw out at us. So yeah, much like a Nintendo boss, you really just wait out his cycle until he's vulnerable and then hit him when he's vulnerable. Except most Nintendo games are action games. And this is a turn-based game. So there's no test of reflexes involved, just click the right buttons in the right order and you're fine. You're perfect. Like I said, easy as pie.
Alright, so with Ouroboros defeated, we make it to Area 3. What is Area 3? Guess what? It's another giant empty field of sand, aesthetically speaking. But canonically, the game takes place in Purgatory, so the big empty fields are kind of apropos. Anyways, Area 3 does not fuck around, okay? The amount of fucking around is 0. The enemies here are tough, so let's take them on one by one. Our first enemy that we gotta deal with, our first fight, is in his image and in her image. This is technically 2 enemies, but really they're 1 enemy. In fact, I kind of lied earlier. In his image and in her image, which I'm just gonna shorten to calling them gametes, because their signature song, God of Gametes, goes a little something like... Anyways, the gametes guys, these are the only enemies that actually do fuck around. Literally, actually, but figuratively in the sense that they are this world's basic grunt enemy and they're pretty easy to deal. It's the only time that Area 3 is gonna pull its punches. They also fuck around literally. If a male and a female gamete guy are on the field at the end of a turn, they will both do a little Dragon Ball fusion dance and morph into whatever the hell this thing is supposed to be. Ugh. Anyways, you don't want that to happen. Now, even with their little combining gimmick, this is still a pretty easy enemy. So why am I talking about it? I want to go on a little side tangent. However, in his image, right, and in her image, its whole gimmick is that, you know, you deal damage to it and it changes genders. It is also let's look at a little nude. And, you know, it's clearly got a bit of a chest. And you may have noticed that the male version and the female version look pretty much exactly the same, because again, it's the same enemy. And so the interesting philosophy I pose is that, you know, is the male version of this enemy totally, you know, safe to show on TV and safe to show on YouTube. But if I deal 1 damage to it, and it goes, and it swaps genders, now this would constitute as a woman as boobies, and therefore not safe for television, not safe for work. The next enemy in Area 3 is the Giggling Minister. Now, if randomness is the garlic to our vampire, then the Giggling Minister is an intercontinental ballistic missile blessed by the Pope. The developers were trolling. Honestly, this enemy is a very fuck you in particular. It should make me mad, but honestly it doesn't. So what's the deal with the Giggling Minister? Well, it has a ton of randomness. One of its attacks, it moves like 6 times and then attacks each time. So technically this attack threatens every single lane because it could like move into every lane and then attack once. But of course, you know, certain combinations are more likely than others because each movement is a coin flip of which direction. So statistically, some are going to cancel each other out and you'll have like a pyramid of probability of what this thing's going to do. Have fun fucking calculating that. That's not great. It also has the very much the developers were trolling here attack of, I don't know, I can't remember what it's called, but to quote this attack's description, this attack has a very high chance of doing nothing and a low chance of instantly killing the opposing lane. Honestly, this should be some total bullshit, but I kind of, like, it's so bullshit that it, like, wraps around to, like, okay, you cheeky little bastards, I see what you're doing. The thing with the gimmick of the Giggling Minister is basically the longer you leave him on the board, the more danger in. You know, you leave someone in front of him, how many times can you afford to gamble on that versus taking the guaranteed damage of other enemies in other lanes? But you know what? Through a bit of trial and error, we make it past him through really just prioritizing him and gunning him down. He also has like an attack that inflicts rupture. Shoutouts to the bucket. I've come to realize that this item is not actually a bucket, but I'm gonna keep calling it a bucket because it looks like a little face inside of a bucket. Like a little guy is creeping out of it. With that, we upgrade all of our party members. We take as few fights as possible in this region, you know. I don't recall if I got everyone maxed out, but the point is in Area 3, these enemies pose a huge risk of dealing 1 damage to us. Every fight is a gamble, so we gamble as few times as possible and go straight to the portal. I made the mistake of not going straight to the boss in Area 2. I'm not making that mistake again. So, the final boss, Hell. Wait, no, its song is called Hell. And it goes a little something like, despite having a banger jam, things are looking pretty grim for this run. Heaven is a tough cookie to crack, let me tell you that much. This giant fucking skull thing guy, his gimmick is that you can't avoid his attacks. You have to sacrifice someone. You have to throw a sacrifice at him. There's just, I'm sorry, but there's no way around that. But hold on, let's take it step by step. When you first get into the fight, you're gonna notice, oh, he's just attacking 1 lane? Easy, I can just avoid that shit. Yeah, take a look at that description. Heaven, as it turns out, has a domain expansion. His attacks have a can't miss effect. Well, more accurately, he has a few different attacks which throw out a pretty big debuff. One that inflicts ruptured,
one that inflicts frail, and basically someone has to stand in front of him and take this horrible debuff, or if you don't do that, he's going to deal a big chunk of damage to all party members. So someone has to take the debuff. Now, this might sound pretty doable. Oh, that's not so bad. All he gives are debuffs, and debuffs don't deal damage, so we're fine, bro. We're fine. No, we're fucking not. One of his attacks is Tears of the Kingdom or some fucking shit. I don't know, he cries a whole bunch. He has one attack where he throws an absurd amount of pigment at your bar. He's guaranteed damage. We can't do anything to stop this. We simply don't have the pigment consumption for it. This is further exacerbated by the fact that he has two phases. He has his vulnerability phase where he, does his single lane mono attack, and then he has a eyeball phase where he retreats from the battlefield, places down two little eyeball McGees, and doesn't matter if you kill them or not, they're going away after one turn. The point of eyeball McGees is they're gonna throw some basic attacks at you, but also it's like you have an opportunity to get pigment from them. You're gonna bleed pigment into your bar, and you can get more pigment by dealing damage to it. And so you get the pigment from the eyeballs to use it on attacks on the next turn when he goes back into his, big skull phase mode. Normal single lane skull phase, you notice his health bar is colorless, so you're not getting pigment from him, you get it from the eyeballs. However, the eyeballs each have an attack that can threaten two lanes. One of them is only technically threatening one lane, but with its 50-50 random movement, it might as well be two, because we don't know which it's gonna end up in. So, statistically, we have to kill one of these guys. Killing one of them requires we deal damage to them. Enough damage to where they die before the one turn that they get to exist for is over. However, dealing damage to someone generates pigment. These guys bleed. Sure, we can spend pigment to deal damage, but we're just gonna get more pigment back. The best way to get rid of pigment is to attack nothing. It's to shadow box. It's to flail your hands around at nothing, because you're gonna spend the pigment, throw out an attack, deal no damage, because again, you're not hitting anyone, you're just flailing around in the air, and then bada bing, bada boom, your pigment's gone. But it's not like any of that rant mattered whatsoever, because again, the amount of pigment this guy throws at you with his big crying attack is just too much. We simply can't get rid of it. Even if we had even with a full squad of 5 party members, we simply can't. There's too much. Is it impossible? Is it impossible to beat this guy without taking damage? We'll hold up. There's one last bit of hope, one little weakness we can use against him, and it's this final attack. And so we've already discussed 3 of Heaven's single lane attacks. I'm gonna deal big damage to all of your party members, or take a rupture debuff, take a frail debuff, take a pigment debuff, but there's one final one. There's one I haven't mentioned. Insta-kill the middle lane, or take 20 damage on all your party members. Well, fuck me, I guess. I mean, there's no way around that. It's just instant kill. Either everyone takes damage, or instant kill on one of your guys. Maybe if we put in a clause that says instant death doesn't count as damage because the bar never went below 0. It was just like 1 minute they're there, the next they're gone. Maybe, but either way, he has too much HP, meaning we go through too many rounds to where eventually the pigment bar will overflow. So regardless of instant kills, we just inevitably get the pigment bar. There is an item in the game that has like an 80% chance to prevent pigment overflow damage. Maybe this run would be possible. Maybe this run would be possible if we had that item, maybe, and we just rolled that 80% for like 10 turns in a row, the 10 turns it takes to kill this guy. Oh yeah, one more thing I want to mention about Heaven is that, one of his attacks, right, as we established, is either take like 10 fucking rupture or take 20 damage on all your party members. And some of you astute viewers might be thinking, oh, why don't we use that item that prevents rupture? Well, I tried that. That counts as avoiding his attack. Yeah,
the one thing, just when you thought, well, we weren't down and out enough, our one little specific item that we were smart enough to plan for, that doesn't work. Because this heaven guy, this giant wolf skull man, he's like a fucking 4-year-old, man. No, you can't avoid my attacks. Because if you try to dodge my attacks, then everyone else dies in a boom. And after many retries, many different save scums, no, you cannot beat Brutal Orchestra without taking damage. I'm sorry, okay? I know these YouTube gamer challenge run videos are typically like, whoa, what if we can do it? Oh, let's pull out the cool strat, we can do it after all. This is real fucking life, baby, okay? This is a real challenge run video. I asked a question, the answer isn't always yes. You don't always get a fucking happy ending, okay? Not everything is possible. You can do a lot in your life, okay? You can achieve much, but not everything, okay? Not anything. I will say this, if there are any Brutal Orchestra superfans out there who are far more experted in the game than I am, because again, I didn't even like 100% this shit, I call upon you to try the same challenge. Prove me wrong. Maybe you can beat the game without taking damage, and I'm just a dumbass who didn't try hard enough. Until someone else makes a YouTube video like this one, I'm officially declaring it scientifically impossible to beat Brutal Orchestra without taking damage. Okay, there is alternatively a second final boss you can encounter when you get to the end of a run. You're either gonna encounter this heaven guy or you're gonna fight Osmond Sinux. However, Osmond Sinux, from my perspective, only exists allegedly. I've completed, I wanna say like 4, maybe 5 runs of this game, and every single time the final boss I was faced with is heaven. And I know there's a second final boss. There's like achievements that are like, defeat Heaven with this character, defeat Osmond Sinux with this character. They're 2 different final bosses, both equally valid. But whether it be, I don't know if you have to unlock Osmond Sinux or if I just like flipped heads on my coin flip 5 times in a row. But I've never seen this guy, I've never encountered him. So, challenge, you know, maybe it was a failure, but honestly, not to get all cheesy, but I think it really was about the journey and not the destination. Honestly, the fact that we can get through every single fight in the entire game except the final boss is, I think that's pretty cool. I mean, the whole point of the final boss is that damage is like inevitable. It has that, you know, either or trolley problem debuff that there's no way around. It has a guaranteed kill effect. The whole point is it's the final boss, it's pulling out all the stops. Someone might die. And you know what? Making this video got me the extra juicy squeeze that I wanted out of this game. I just wanted a little bit more to do, and making this video gave me that. So you know what? I'm happy. Maybe we didn't accomplish our goals. Maybe we failed. But it's better, it's better to try and fail. It's better to attempt and to fail than it is to sit back and do nothing, you know? Okay, each time you get up and you try, you experience more of life, man. And maybe that's more valuable. Maybe experiencing life is more valuable than some arbitrary ass goal that you set for yourself. Subscribe, you should do that. I don't know if or when I'll upload another video, but you should subscribe just in case I do decide to upload another video. That way, it'll be like a nice surprise. Ooh.